Hi, I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and in this video I'm going to show you how to assemble this fun toucan pattern. Here's how you make it. Okay, this is the video showing how to assemble the toucan pattern if you are not using a light box. So I've got all of my pieces prepared and cut out, and so what that means is I have printed the pattern onto my paper-backed fusible adhesive. I use Heat and Bond Light for all of my quilts. I fused it to the back side of my fabric, and then I cut all the pieces out on the solid lines. These dotted lines are placement guides that show you where other applique pieces are going to sit in front of them. And the solid lines here, so those dotted lines you do want to transfer, which I forgot to do on this one. You want to transfer to, I did all of them except for this guy. It doesn't matter. I'll show you this one as an example. Which one is it going to show up on the best? Here's this, you can see it, I think, on this one. So you want to take those dotted lines and transfer them to the fabric side of the paper. And so I did that just with a chalk, a simple piece of white chalk. The solid lines are stitching lines, not placement guides. And so you do want to transfer those to the fabric side, and I use a fine tip Sharpie. So it is okay that this is a permanent pen, and because I'm going to stitch over it with black thread, so you'll never see that permanent black line. It'll just be hidden under there. So the other thing that I wanted to show you is that you can cut away some of the extras. So let me show you on this. This is the placement guide. So we're going to have this black body piece, and then we're going to put this yellow kind of breast piece over that, and then we're going to put this green eye piece over that, which means you're going to have quite a few layers of fabric in there. Now, I didn't design the pattern pieces with that cutaway because there are a lot of different toucans in a lot of different colors, and some of them don't have, for example, the breast piece, and some of them don't have the eye patch, and I wanted you to have the intact pieces that you would need if you wanted to do some of those other designs as well. So if you decide you want to cut that away, you can do that before you even fuse it to the fabric. So what you would do, if you knew ahead of time, you've got to make this decision before, like after you make your design decisions, then you can decide on this. So I know that I'm going to be putting this breast piece over here, so I'm going to cut away that overlap here. And I would do this before I fused it to the fabric, but I wanted to do it this way so I could show you both ways. So I'm just going to cut that away, and then I would fuse just this piece, and I'll just set this aside because I can use that. And then I'm going to do the same thing here with the breast piece. If you know that you're going to put the contrasting eye piece, you can cut that away as well. So you can do that with any of my mix and match patterns. I often will not cut those away so that you have the most useful pieces possible, because it's very easy for you then to just cut that away if you decide that that's what you're going to do. So, and you can use this placement guide and just color in different kind of color arrangements and decide what you want to do. So I'm going to set this aside. Now let's start assembling. So I'm going to start with this big body piece, and you'll notice that it has this weird square bit there, and no animal has any part of its body that looks like that. What this is where it's going to tuck into the corner of my block. So I like to do almost all of my applique designs what I call snapshot style. So I want it to look like I took a photo of this toucan and I zoomed way in on its face. So he has a body, it's just not visible in the photo or in the block. And so to get that illusion, I take those straight edges and I line them up with the raw edges of my block, so that when I sew my blocks together later, those edges are going to be buried in the seam allowance, and it will give the illusion of a little photo, a snapshot of this toucan. So next up, we're going to put his breast piece in. And that is going to just overlap that edge there. And now we're going to put his eye in. If I can peel the back off, there it goes. And I meant to point out when I was talking about transferring lines that these eyelashes are optional. You do not have to do the eyelashes, but I think that they are awfully cute, so I like to do them. Let's see, I want that to be down there. And I'm just trying to get all these edges hidden and aligned the way I want them. There we go. Okay, so now this point is lined up with the edge of his body here. These are pretty close to lined up. You can see in the pattern that I actually have it overhanging a little bit there. And this one is also overhanging just a smidge in the front. Now we're going to tuck the beak behind these pieces. So this variety of toucan has a beak that is mostly green on the top. Whoops, we want it to go underneath this and underneath the black. There we go. And then the underbeak is mostly pink. And I would love to see somebody make a toucan using rainbow fabric and giving him a rainbow beak. But I actually tried to make mine inspired by actual toucans, and none of them have exactly a rainbow beak. So we're just going to tuck that away under here. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to line these guys up like that, and then I'm going to tuck the whole shebang under there. And we'll do some rearranging if we need to. This is one of the blocks where the light box makes things much, much easier. So we're going to tuck these guys down just a little bit more here. Okay, so that is covered. That is lined up down here. That's sticking out just a little bit up there. And the points of the beak are really well lined up there. Oh, now it's a little too far out there. Tuck it in just a little bit further. There we go, perfect. And then this toucan, some of them have a little teardrop shape at the end of their beak. Some of them have a teardrop shape up here, but most of them it is down here. And so we're gonna give them this little purple drop there. But not all of them have a drop shape, so you might end up leaving that piece off if you're trying to match a specific variety of toucan. And then all he needs now is his eye. There we go. All right, whew, that was a lot. I'm going to take this over to my ironing board, fuse all the pieces in place, just follow the directions on whatever brand of fusible adhesive you're using. And then I will do all of the outline stitching on it, and I'll bring it back here and I'll show you the finished block and also show you 2 other finished toucans that I made in different colors. Okay, here is one finished toucan. There are actually a lot of different toucan varieties, and I've given you pieces that you'll be able to use to make a lot of different ones. Just look them up and see what their colorings look like. So I'm going to show you a couple of other options that I made. So this is the one that a lot of us think of when we think of a toucan, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's got the two-tone orange beak with a black spot on the tip of the beak, and the body is black and white with this orange patch around his eye. Here's another kind of toucan, and again, I'm so sorry, I don't remember now what varieties I was referencing, but really you could go totally crazy with colors and just make some fun fantasy toucans too. I would love to see somebody make a beak with rainbow stripes on it, but this one I liked because it had really fun colors, and I loved the yellow and green on the breast and the eye spot. And I did one more version. This one I do remember. It's called an emerald toucanette, and it's a tiny little toucan, and it's bright green. It's got an emerald green back and then a more of a yellow-green breast and this blue eye, and then instead of a black spot on the tip of his beak, he has a red spot up here. So I just moved that spot up closer to his head to give that same look, and he's yellow on the top and black on the bottom for his beak. So really just look at some pictures of toucans. They're beautiful and amazing, and you will get to make all kinds of birds in all kinds of fun colors. But they tend to have this same patterning with a breast and an eye and different colors on the beak, and sometimes a spot on the beak as well. So just mix and match the colors and go crazy and make some fabulous brightly colored toucans. So you can get the pattern at shinyhappyworld.com. I'm Wendy, and I will see you next time.